We're now on television.
All right, I call to order the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for the City of Easthampton. Today is Wednesday, November 20th, 2019. This is a continuation of a hearing which began on Wednesday, October 23rd. At that meeting, we gave an hour to this presentation. We heard from multiple people, including the applicants and the neighbors. In an effort to try to keep this to somewhat of a reasonable time frame, because my dinner's sitting on my stove, my thought, what I'd like is that if there are people who attended the last meeting, that you hold off until people who have come as a fresh to the audience are given a chance to speak. Just to renew or refresh folks on the rules of I don't want to say engagement, the rules of decorum in our meetings. We will ask that all questions, comments, responses be addressed to the board. We are the deciding factors. We need to not make this a personal conversation, but more of a policy and what the rules state, and how we are looking to whether the applicant meets the requirements and regulations for the sections of which they are appealing. So, and I believe you have something you'd like to say as well, if you're not?
Yeah, no, I was here last month. I've read the accessory apartment regulations, and I think this application, with the modifications to the setbacks that were discussed last month, complies with those regulations. And I wanted to point out that there was a newspaper article in the Gazette before the last election where they interviewed all of the at-large council candidates, and I believe all of them commented on how supportive they were of affordable housing. And that's what an accessory apartment is. It provides affordable housing in Easthampton.
Okay. Is there any other board member that'd like to say anything before we read? Okay. So at our last meeting, like I said, we had heard from multiple parties. We heard from the applicant. There was a list of requests that was given to the applicant to then revise their submission and resubmit. I see a plot plan in front of me showing, I believe, the items that were requested. Is that correct, Mr. Lake?
Yep, privacy buffer between 11 and the applicant's address, and revised setbacks.
And revised setbacks.
Yep. Okay.
Do you have anything else? I'm going to give you the floor first because you are the applicant, or representing the applicant at least. And so at that, I would like to give you, if there's anything you would like to add to your appeal.
I'm going to keep it very short. We thought the requests from 11 Grove Street were very reasonable. So we did put in there a nice evergreen hedge that should grow to provide a nice privacy buffer and prevent any headlights from shining across into the neighbor's driveway. And we did put an apple tree in there as well, a little addition in the neighborhood. And we did move the setbacks back. So we think we answered and amended the application per what was requested. And if there's anything else, please let us know.
Okay.
I'm good.
You guys are good? You're good?
Yeah.
I see another member of the party has joined.
Yes, I'll be the occupant.
Okay. Vested interest.
Yes, vested
Okay.
interest.
All right.
We're going further. Can I just, if there was 2 sign-in sheets on either door, if you didn't have a chance to sign in, I'm going to pass around another clipboard. So please, if you haven't already signed in, please sign in. You don't need to sign in again if you've already done so.
Okay. I will ask, there are seats up front. I will ask that you come in. The building is full with multiple meetings, and so it can get very loud in other places. So I'm going to ask if there's anybody in the hallways that you do come in and sit down. I will also ask that If you have something to say, I'm gonna try to start at one end of the room, depending on how many hands go up, we'll decide which side of the room we start at. And then I will ask that you do limit your time to approximately 2 minutes. And I'm gonna ask that you bring facts rather than opinions. We try to deal more on the fact side and how it is applied to the zoning ordinances of the city. Okay? So, and also, when you are called on to speak, if you could clearly state your name so Jamie can make sure that she gets that recorded. Okay? So, is there anyone here who has something they would like to say pertaining to the application at hand? Well, we'll start here.
Hi, I'm Sarah Amoroso. I live on Winter Street here in Easthampton. I just wanted to say quickly that I think this is a really great model for the things that they're intending to use it for. I also have an older parent who has income restrictions and some disability. And I have a son who is a little bit older than Chandra and Sarah's. He's 9 and he also has autism. And as a parent of a kid with a developmental disability, you don't really know what the future is going to be like. And I think this is a really wonderful model of flexible use that can really benefit multiple generations of a family. And I'm hopeful that it will go forward for them and perhaps for others as well.
In the back.
Hi, my name is Tamara Smith, and I'm a former city councilor who helped write this ordinance, and I'm so excited to see it actually being utilized. We specifically wrote this ordinance with the expectation that we would have exactly this type of intergenerational living community within a household, and that we would have some privacy that you would want to have. So I'm just really excited that this is coming forth. I know it was a new plan, and I'm just in full support of it for all of the reasons that have been stated, but I also really wanted to just reiterate that the City Council did very much believe in this, and the reason for the accessory apartments were to ease the housing costs and also to help facilitate informal caregiving within families. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Hi, my name is Alexandra Dodge, and I live at 120 East Street. And my husband and myself and our family had an accessory apartment approved, I think 2 years ago, maybe one time, kind of blurs, but for very similar reasons. And I would say, as a homeowner who has been through the process, it can be a little bit confusing, it can be time-consuming, it can be costly. I reviewed their application, and to my understanding of the code that I needed to comply to, it meets the existing zoning regulations. And as much as I appreciate that it can be very uncomfortable for neighbors and uncomfortable for a community when things are new like this, and I so appreciate the board giving folks an opportunity to speak to how they were feeling about it last week. A month later, it just feels like if it's conforming and meets the zoning, the family should be able to move forward with their project. So I'm just here in support of that.
Jordan Healy, 218 East Street, Easthampton. I just want to reiterate the comments that were already said. I've been at a few dozen planning board meetings, city council meetings, and the question's always, how do we add more affordable housing? It's commonly coming up as a common theme. So I believe that this is a great solution. So I just want to echo the comments said before.
Yes, sir.
Jim Valancourt, 15 Cottage Street. I'm a member of the Planning Board. I'm also a member of the Fair and Affordable Housing Partnership and the Commission on Disability. And all three of those groups support this very kind of housing. It's so important for this community to try to get a handle on filling in the small spaces that we have, because we don't have big spaces that we can use for public housing. So we have to let people utilize the small spaces that they have on their own property so that they can do this very thing. Put a dwelling that's affordable for family members, or even put up a unit that they can commit to affordable housing for as long as that unit might exist. It might even be a good idea for the city to try and help people who are willing to maintain an affordable unit, to help them get some kind of special financing or whatever, low interest rates, those kinds of things, that would be terrific. That might help our housing stock some. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Douglas Ross, and I was the former vice chairman of the Disability Commission with him. And something that's not really being said is I'm trying to move out of the area, and the area that I'm moving to is the Greater Boston area. A one-bedroom apartment in the Greater Boston area starts off at $2,500 and up. And so I think it's important that we try to have different creative ways, because the federal government is not investing in Section 8 or public housing. If anything, they're cutting back on it. And I currently live in a subsidized apartment complex, College Highway, but it's only designed for people with disabilities and the elderly. So the vast majority of people who are working, who don't have a disability or not over 55 years old, they don't qualify for that type of housing. So I support this project 100%. It's creative, it's innovative, it doesn't involve getting involved with the federal government with tax credits and all that bureaucracy crap or whatever. And that's all I have to say.
Kate Collins for Carolab. Just to piggyback a little bit on what everybody said, I just want to note that in work that I've done in the community and conversations that I've had with people surrounding elections and surrounding the new schools, one of the biggest fears that I hear is the fight against unsustainable gentrification, particularly for older people. And I think that if we can have a good sustainable model for accessory apartments or for people that are older to convert a portion of their land to a smaller house, a more sustainable house, and rent or sell their own house, it will give them a chance to age in place in the community that they're invested in and may have lived in for their whole life or for 20 or 30 years and are afraid of being priced out of because property values are going up. We want to have an economically diverse community because that's going to make us a richer community. So I fully support this project as a model for that.
Just quickly, my name is Lindsay Rothschild. I live at 2 South Hampshire Street, City Councilor at large elect. And I want to say I've been talking to residents for the last 4 or 5 months since I've been campaigning. And this is the one that I would say the #1 issue I heard from constituents across the city, that people care about affordable housing. They care about staying close to family. They want us as a city to address it in innovative ways. So I think that this addresses the concerns of residents across the city from the conversations I've had over the last few months. So thank you for pursuing it.
Yes.
Hi, Daisy Patton, 11 Grove Street, so next door, and we really appreciate the changes that were made, and we're really in support. Like, you know, I'm disabled as well, and I really understand what it means to have family nearby and all of that stuff, and we appreciate the changes for additional like privacy and everything, and you know, we really support the family and hope they're able to build the ADU and get to be neighbors with Ramona as well. And you know, that it's not going to be like a short-term rental or anything. This is like a family space. So yeah.
In the rear, yes.
Is it okay to talk now, seeing how I talked the last time at the last meeting?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll make sure that, yeah, I believe,
I got, there were 4 letters that were also delivered.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get the letters, we'll get those in a minute. All right, so go ahead, yes ma'am.
I'll ask you, and you can ask them. Are the gas lines going to be brought to the location on Grove Street from Mayor Street?
The gas line.
Can you state your name again?
Deb Gardner. I live on Grove Street.
Well, it can.
Well, there you go.
Moratorium on gas.
Well, there's a moratorium on gas.
Yeah, but they're attached to Mayor Street, which has gas.
No.
On that street.
Well, we'll talk to, it happens that the gas inspector is on the board.
No, it can't.
Okay.
Yeah, I can real quick. It's all electric. There is no gas going to this accessory apartment. We'll be run on heat pumps.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
I agree with everybody. My name's Alita Kennedy. This is great, but what I would love to see is little small villages here and there with, you know, a handful of small homes that are for rent, for sale, whatever, you know, or rent until you own it, or at the very least affordable housing. And I think it's an economic way to really push that forward. So when we're done with this, let's work on the rest of it.
All right, and you said we have a couple, is there anyone else who would like to speak? And if I say something in these letters that sparks something that, yeah, we can go ahead and go from there. Four letters.
Four letters. Just quickly, one's from Julie Nelson, 19 Concord Drive. One's from the Easthampton Development and Industrial Commission. One's from City Councilor Tom Peak. And one's from a butter named Robin Wagner, both no address.
Okay. So we will start with the letter from Julie Nelson. This letter is in support of the proposal of Sarah Hunter and Chandra Linnell of 8 Mayor Street for the detached accessory apartment for their property. And I guess my question is, do you feel I need to read these all, or if we enter into, or if we just accept as entered in?
Why don't you think it'd be good to
Okay, I will read them.
so that way everyone here gets to...
Finding housing in Easthampton is difficult as supply is much smaller than the demand. For low-income, disabled, and senior populations, the option of independent living are limited and restricted. Aging in place and affordable housing are topics asked in recent city election candidate forums. The topic of accessory apartments and tiny houses will be discussed at the public program of the Council on Aging and Enrichment Center on December 4th, and with the Emily Williston Memorial Library on February 12th. I hope that the city officials will be in attendance and support the question and needs of the residents. I have a sister with cognitive and physical disabilities who currently lives independently, supported by my parents in their 70s. They live 90 minutes from me. In thinking about how my parents can age in place, a home they built in 1972, and how I will eventually take on the financial guardianship and caregiver role of my sister, housing is the primary concern. Moving to Easthampton and becoming a client of Riverside Industries is in her future plan. Finding a physically accessible and independent living option does not exist in town for her unless we create it through the purchase and renovation or an addition of accessory apartment to my property. I understand that 8 Mayor Street property is unique with frontage on 2 streets and abutters on 2 streets. I am very familiar with the Holyoke Street neighborhood as I lived on National Longwood Street for 6 years when I first moved to the Pioneer Valley. The proposed plan fits within the aesthetics of the neighborhood and other area fill-in projects and meet the current and future needs of 3 generations of a family. I hope to see this and more projects like this approved to meet the housing and caregiving needs of residents. Sincerely, Julie Nelson, 19 Concord Drive, Easthampton. And we were short on words, huh?
All right. The next letter is from Thomas Peak, City Councilor, Precinct 3. Hi, Jamie. I will be unable to attend tonight's ZBA meeting as it conflicts with the City Council, but I wanted to provide my thoughts on the Mayor Street question. I'm hoping that you might be able to relay my comments to the ZBA. Thanks and have a great day. My comment is below. I guess that was the email.
That was easy.
Here's the actual substance. To the Zoning Board of Appeals, my understanding is that tonight you will be discussing the matter of an accessory dwelling unit that is proposed in my precinct. I've been following this to the best of my ability for a little while now. I trust that you will fairly review the case and issue a decision based on our zoning as it currently stands. That said, I did want to relay my thoughts on the matter in the context of Easthampton's current housing situation. I don't need to tell you that over the last decade or so, Easthampton has become an increasingly desirable place for people to live, and that increase in demand has led to an increase in the cost of housing. This is great for people who are looking to sell their homes, but I do worry that prices are reaching a level where there might be some larger economic implications. Easthampton has benefited from the diverse types of people who make their homes here, and if some of those people, for example, seniors, working class people, artists, etc., find it impossible to find a home here, that will affect our economic trajectory. I also don't have to tell you that Easthampton does not have a great deal of developable land. This puts us in a bit of a conundrum. The most obvious way to address excess demand is to increase supply, but for a small, dense community like us, that is likely to mean being a little bit creative about how we use the land that we do have. When I attend meetings of city councilors or economic development officials, accessory dwelling units like the one being proposed here, are often brought up as a way to incrementally add affordable housing units to a community without clear-cutting scarce open space or giving huge incentives to developers. For that reason, I count myself among the people who are very interested to see projects like this go forward. I do appreciate that some folks in parcels abutting in development like this might have questions or concerns, and that's natural. But I do think that if we want to be proactive about addressing our housing shortage and keeping our community affordable to a wide range of potential residents, then we are going to need to seriously consider ideas like this.
Next.
From Jeff Baggs.
Actually, I think it's fine.
Oh, Robin Wagner, a concerned friend and fellow civic leader. This addressed to Jeff Baggs, the city planner. Dear Mr. Bagg, I've been wanting to send an email to the Zoning Board of Appeals, but I cannot find any contact information. I asked around and was advised to possibly send this to you in the hopes that you passed it on to them. I am writing in support of the application to the Zoning Board of Appeals for 8 Mayor Street, looking over the building plan submitted, including recent revisions, and watching the events from the last Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. I can't see any issues being brought up that are against city policy. It looks like the design of the project is in step with the aesthetics of the neighborhood, and the revisions submitted indicate a clear desire to address any legitimate concerns brought up by neighbors, and there were plenty of illegitimate concerns expressed. Aside from the last meeting being a travesty, the Roberts Rules violation alone are cringeworthy. A rejection of this permit application would feel borderline personal given the major steps taken to keep in line with setbacks, aesthetics, concerns, neighbors nitpicking, and more. On the contrary, I believe this project is a great representation of what a family can do to address their housing needs in a city with limited space and a burgeoning housing crisis. I implore you to give this application a fair consideration, angry mob of neighbors aside.
Wow. That's really nice. Okay, the next letter is from Gwen Morrissey, Doctor, CDIC Chair, Zoning Board of Appeals. In light of the need of a variety of housing options in Easthampton, including affordable smaller homes that allow seniors to age in place and people on low income to remain in our increasingly popular city, the Easthampton Development and Industrial Commission strongly support accessory dwelling units, ADUs, on residential properties. Given the limited undeveloped land in Easthampton, these small houses contribute to the city's inventory of housing, much needed to keep housing prices manageable as we continue to welcome newcomers and allow longtime residents to remain connected to their community while downsizing. Their size enables them to integrate well into single-family properties with little or no negative impact on the character of the surrounding neighborhoods. The special permit request that the Zoning Board of Appeals continues discussing on November 20th, 2019, submitted by Chandra Linnell and Sarah Hunter, is a fine example of an ADU project that creates an independent living space for current and future family members, with specifications showing a clear intention to remain in keeping with the aesthetics of the mostly single-family neighborhood. Along with the builder, Ms. Linnell and Ms. Hunter have demonstrated a commitment to design nuances and landscaping that make the project palatable to their neighbors. This proposed ADU construction demonstrates how residents can meet their own family's housing needs while simultaneously contributing to the city's goals of enabling economic development through increased access to housing. We encourage the Zoning Board of Appeals to look favorable on ADU proposals in general and to grant the Linnell Hunter family special permit. Thank you for your attention.
That was already read.
Okay, I will ask, is there anyone else who has anything to say during the public speak portion? Yes, sir.
Hi. Just as something Chris and I have been working on Eversley.
Excuse me, you need to say your name.
Sorry, Kevin Shell, backyard from the Backyard ADUs. Since that last meeting and thinking about what concerns of everybody else, one of the things that we're really now striving to do is see if we can make these things completely net zero. And through some of the new discoveries that we're coming up with and how to make these things, I think we may be able to achieve that on these projects, which Easthampton seems to be very interested in residents in very environmentally friendly homes. And I think we're going to be able to do that and provide these homes at an affordable rate.
Okay, is there anyone else who has anything to say? All right, at this point, we'll close the public hearing. So, discussion among the board concerning the application. Okay, if we...
I've had my say.
So, in the meeting, as you all know, we have two requirements we have to meet. We have the accessory standards for accessory apartments and the special permit criteria for approval.
Would you like someone to make a motion to approve and then you go through the standards?
Or either way, we can do it either way.
It would make more sense.
I think it makes more sense to do these first. That way we make sure in case there's something we have to address, we can address it first. So I'm going to quickly go through the list. Okay. The apartment will be complete. This is the standards, section 8.53, standards for accessory apartments. The apartment will be a complete separate housekeeping unit with functions as a separate unit from the original unit. Yes, it's a detached structure that has its own kitchen and adequate living space and sanitary facilities. Only one apartment will be created on a single-family lot. There's only one. The lot in which the single-family house is located must meet the minimum lot size requirements and comply with other applicable zoning regulations for the district. Yes, the lot exceeds the minimum lot size, frontage, and for the zone. The owners of the residence in which the accessory apartment is located shall occupy at least one of the dwelling units on the premise. That is correct. The accessory apartment shall be designed so that the appearance of the building remains that of a one-family residence as much as feasibly possible. In general, any new entrances shall be located on the side or rear of the building. Excuse me. Any exterior changes must conform to the single-family character of the neighborhood. Well, whereas this is a detached unit, the decision was made to have the frontage on Grove Street as opposed to having it onto the Mayor Street side, so that the Grove Street appears to be a house in the neighborhood. In addition to the original building, there again, not applicable, the same dimensions criteria shall apply to an accessory apartment constructed in an existing detached dwelling, such as a garage, barn, or carriage. This is an accessory apartment. It's approximately 526 square feet, which is approximately 26% of the existing structure, which is below the 33%, which is actually the next criteria, which says it must be no greater than 33% of the existing total residential space, or 800 square feet, whichever is less. That meets both. Next item, at least 2 off-street parking spaces per dwelling unit are available for use of the owner, occupants, and tenants. There are 4 off-street parking spaces provided, 1 new, which will be on Grove Street, the other 3, which is a 1-car garage and 2 parking spots in the driveway for Mayor Street. For dwellings to be served in on-site septic system, that is not applicable. The construction of any accessory apartment must be in conformity with the state building code, and that is to be determined by the building commissioner when the building permit is applied for. Okay, so those are the criteria for section 8.53, the standards for accessory apartments. Any questions from the board? Okay. Next section is section 12.7.9, special permit criteria for approval. The special permit granting authority shall not grant a special permit unless it finds the reasonable fulfillment of the following criteria. Conformance with the provision of the ordinance of the City of Easthampton, general laws of the state of Massachusetts, and all applicable rules and regulations for the state and federal agencies. To the best of our knowledge, it meets that. Protection of city amenities and abutting properties through the minimalization of any detrimental or offensive uses or destruction of unique or important natural, scenic, or historical features on the site. There will be no destruction of any of that, and actually we are adding in that we're going to add they're adding trees, which is natural. Minimization of traffic and safety impacts of proposed development on adjacent highways or roads, and maximizes the convenience and safety of vehicular and pedestrian movement within the site. This is a single, it's an accessory apartment. It's going to have one occupant, one car. Adequacy of the methods of disposal of sewage and refuse and the drainage of surface and subsurface water. It's being attached to the city water, city sewer through the existing structure on Mayor Street, and there should be no impact on the surface or subsurface water. Adequate means of protecting wetlands, watersheds, aquifers, and well areas, non-applicable. Mitigation of adverse impacts on the city's resources, including the effect on the city's water supply, distribution system, sewage collection and treatment system, fire protection, and streets. We're connecting one ADU, single unit, to an existing system. Does not affect it. Provisions for the off-street loading and unloading of vehicles incidental to the normal operation of the establishment, parking, lighting, and internal traffic controls. This is, there again, a provision basically for large-scale developments. I consider that non-applicable. Applicants' efforts to integrate the development into the existing landscape through the design features such as vegetation buffers and retention of open space or agricultural lands. There was a addition of a landscape buffer on the east side abutting 11 Grove Street. Minimization of the area of which existing vegetation is to be removed. Where tree removal is required, special attention is to be given to the planting of replacement trees. No trees are being removed and additional trees are being added. The consistency of the development will be with respect to setback area, placement of parking, architectural style, and landscaping of the surrounding buildings and development. It's a single structure on a single lot, or on a lot. There is applicable parking being provided, and the architectural style meets the surrounding neighborhood. Okay, adequacy of the measures to prevent pollution of surface or groundwater, to minimize erosion and sediment, and the minimize changes in groundwater level, increase runoff, and potential of flooding. There will be no cause for pollutants or surface groundwater or anything like that. And the last item is adequacy of the methods to ensure that the use will not constitute a nuisance by reason of unacceptable levels of air or water pollution, excessive noise, or visually flagrant structures or accessories. I do not believe that a single unit will create air, water pollution, excessive noise, or visually flagrant structures. So those are the requirements for the approval, and I believe that they've been met. So if someone on the board would like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve a 526 square feet detached accessory apartment at 8 Mayor Street, based on the plan submitted. And the only condition be that the appearance of the house be as on the plans submitted, with the pitch roof, the covered stoop, the house appearance. Unless someone else has any other proposed conditions.
And with the revised...
With the revised setbacks.
Setbacks and site plan provided in this meeting. All right. Second? Tony, second? Yeah. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor? It moves. So moved. All right. So your application's been approved. We've got a holiday week next week, but it takes Jamie a couple days to write up the decision, especially since it's going on for 2 meetings and we have quite a bit of stuff to submit there. Once that's happened, we will go ahead and sign and seal it. There's then a 20-day appeal period, after which you will receive a notification from the city clerk. And you can then take that and take it to the city, the Hampshire Records of Deeds, record it, and you are then free to go. All right. All right.
And I just wanted to say thank you. My name is Chris Lee of Backyard ADUs. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for the comments. It's so exciting to hear all of that. I've been working on this with Chandra and Sarah, but I've got a goal to blow this up for affordable housing and people downsizing, and Western Mass is ground zero. So thank you all for coming in support, and hopefully we do more.
Okay.
Thank you all for approving a place for me to live.
The meeting's still continuing with a couple other agenda items. All right. You want us to?
You can stay if you'd like. It's really exciting stuff.
Yeah, do you need a right
I kind of have a lot of stuff, so yes.
Okay.
Anyone here?
Yeah, and if anybody wants to go to the Brass Cat, Chris will buy you a beer.
I will.
I don't like that bar.
Oh, Lord.
Thank you so much for coming, you guys.
Chris, you gonna grab a picture? Yeah.
Well, you got your LBJ force.
I do want to show you plans.
Well done.
They're
Thank
really
you.
minor stuff.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah. Oh, you got the ship.
Where are we going?
Sorry to stop by a Halloween.
Amy's or...
I'm never going to be
Do you guys have to run home to meet the babysitter, or?
Sarah's giving me a ride home.
Douglas ride, and I'm gonna go.
Covering that, everything I did last time was covered. So all I had to do was have you qualify both sides.
Okay. Minutes. October 23rd. Our October 23rd meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Yeah.
Just
Motion on the minutes and a second.
you can leave that one open. Leave that one open. That way it's still. No, I'm saying it's all. Yes. Trash. All right. So a motion to approve the meetings from the October 23rd meeting
And August 28th.
and August 28th as well. We never did that.
Oh,
I think I made a motion to approve that one last time.
Yeah, it's still on the table.
It's still on the table. Okay. All right. Second, Tony?
Yep.
All right, all in favor? All right. I'd ask if there's anybody else to speak in public. They all did their part because they were all here for that. Is there any other correspondence requests from other boards? I saw there was one you had emailed out.
Yeah, so that was a planning board request for a site plan approval for a new restaurant on Union Street. And the application was distributed by email, so if there are any comments or...
I have a comment.
Okay.
Vera Cruzana, which I really like, which is on Union Street, doesn't have any parking. And if I know someone that used to regularly go to the dry cleaner that doesn't go there anymore because they can't park their car, they go to the one on Northampton Street. So that's something to consider. We don't want to harm our existing businesses. That's, and I don't know what the issue is.
Yeah. So I mean,
There's a solution, but
so they're not required in the downtown business where there's no change or increase to the existing building. They're not required to provide parking. So
I know, that was just a comment because
I know, so I mean, I don't know.
I know
mean, can
someone
answer
who
that,
gets his
but-
shirts laundered, who used to get his shirts.
So I know what the
We
question.
can recognize him, he's the wrinkly guy walking through town.
No, he found a new cleaner.
Is that something that,
No, just a comment that we should be aware, maybe we can, I put signs where parking is, I noticed, I like the,
yeah, so we have been working on it to try to,
but on Cottage Street, not on Union Street.
yeah, I mean, we're trying to work on
Union
it.
Street's gonna get worse,
There's a lot
there's
of
only be parking on one side.
things that we have a parking consultant as part of the downtown planning strategy, and that report hasn't been finalized, so they're going to be, we're looking at shared parking agreements that we can use with some of the buying, like the commercial property owners, like some like the banks that are only open 9 to 5. There's a couple parcels that might have, that they're city-owned, that might be able to have some parking on it.
No, I'm thrilled we're getting more restaurants.
We're doing signage to try to direct people to the parking lots that we have. But I mean, it is something that is a concern and we're trying to.
Was there,
Rite Aid, obviously.
has there been any discussion about a potential parking garage-like small one? Like a small one that could be.
It's really expensive.
No, I know.
I mean,
you would pay. Like in Northampton.
Yeah, so there was, we did look into that, and the sort of preliminary consensus was that there's plenty of parking inventory available that people are not utilizing. There are a couple of peak hours of the day that the streets are filled in front of businesses, but there are side streets that maybe aren't being filled up. And the concern was at between $20,000 and $30,000 per parking space to build an above-ground garage.
Yeah, very expensive.
That we would never be able to recoup the costs of building such a structure because people would park, they would find a reason to not pay $1 to park in the garage when they can park for free on a side street. So.
Right. The other option is you put up meters throughout town, so then you're offsetting that.
And so
cost
that was
everybody's
one of the things that came up, was there are a lot of things that we could implement before we get to the point of the parking garage. So one of those would be meters or enforcing the 1 hour parking, the 2 hour parking, things that asking businesses to have their employees park somewhere else and not take the prime spots right in front of the business. All those things will be coming out in the report. There was discussion.
That's where it starts.
Yeah.
That's where it
I'm supportive of another restaurant. I'm just,
kind of interested in this sushi taco. All right, any other communication?
That's it.
Motion for adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second it.
All right, all in favor? Thank you, one and all.
Great.